Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Warcraft video. And, well, this is going to be a massive year for World of Warcraft. We're going to have the testing process for Battle for Azeroth, the actual launch of the expansion, and then perhaps even a 7.1 sized patch for it. Now, I've been through the ringer a few times, over the years doing YouTube, and I'm going to lay down what I expect to happen to World of Warcraft and when. Basically laying down the path forward to Battle for Azeroth. And let's kick it off with what you can actually play. So, right now Antorus is wrapping up, and that's mostly it for the Legion content. Patch 7.3.5 is coming out very soon by my estimation, likely Tuesday the 16th of January, as the patch contains some stuff for the Call of the Scarab event, but at the very least it will be out, I'd say, before mid-February, because that's when Wrath Time Walking comes out, and of course this patch has Ulduar Time Walking, so they'll want that in time. So that's the stuff you'll be able to play pretty soon from 7.3.5, but what about the allied race stuff? Because the data is there on 7.3.5 on the PTR, but I don't think it'll be coming anytime soon. Most speculate that it will be a pre-order bonus for Battle for Azeroth. I think this is quite spot on, but that it might be available a bit earlier than Demon Hunters were. So the Demon Hunters were a part of the Legion pre-patch. Now, expansion pre-patches bring in the systems of the expansion, but not the new content. Mostly like it's just an important systems update. So the Demon Hunters would have had to be included with the Legion pre-patch because they're built off the Legion content. Though with the allied race stuff, it's being tested on the 7.3.5 PTR, so it's being tested in a Legion dev environment, which possibly opens up the idea of it being unlocked before the pre-patch of Battle for Azeroth. This could, of course, happen at any time, and so far as just looking at the build, what Mr. GM and a few others have been able to do, it seems like it is just flipping a switch, actually unlocking that, and we know that one of the prerequisites is owning Battle for Azeroth, which of course a pre-order would count as. But very much take allied races with a humongous grain of salt. The only thing we know that's coming in 7.3.5 is the level revamp, Silithus, etc. So allied races, they could happen whenever Blizzard wants, basically. But what's next, though? So, the Battle for Azeroth testing process. The words alpha and beta in these are used a bit loosely often, but Blizzard actually does do a proper traditional test rather than a short marketing beta, which is pretty awesome. Now, the Battle for Azeroth external alpha test will likely begin quite soon, in my view. If it's anything like previous expansions, then the testing process will start off quite small. With Legion, we initially started off with only the first Demon Hunter zone, and then slowly it expanded to the rest of the expansion's leveling content. Zones went through light iteration, nothing as large as, say, what we saw in Gorgrond with WoD. Now, the testing of this content was quite straightforward with Legion, and really with Legion, they also, of course, had to roll the specs out slowly. Now, this was done because they wanted targeted testing, but also because they were making massive changes to many specs, so there was a lot of work that had to be done there. After this stuff, all happened, so we got our zones and all of our classes, people would hit max level, and usually Blizzard will give you max level pre-made characters that you can just make to test with. Now, this wasn't too dissimilar to the Warlords beta, just that the Warlords beta had larger changes to its systems, especially with the garrison. Now, with Battle for Azeroth, I actually expect things to flow quite smoothly, and here's why. So first, the classes are not being overhauled for the most part. We're getting tweaks and refinements to the current Legion designs, as well as some replacing of the mechanics that were filled in by the artifact weapons. Then the zone testing, it's usually quite smooth. It was in Legion, I don't foresee much drama there. Systems often see the most iteration, but after Legion it seems like both the raid and dungeon systems are quite well designed with no major reworks being needed. The less surefire aspects of this expansion are the island explorations and the warfronts. They're, I think, quite likely to change over time over the beta, but they're very standalone features. They're not central to the design of the expansion in the same way that the garrison dominated all of Warlords of Draenor. So for all these reasons, I actually expect quite a smooth and well-ran beta test for this expansion. Even more as well, when I think back to how Blizzard ran Legion like clockwork in terms of the patches, it just seems like they've got their stuff together. I mean, there was hardly ever not something on PTR. With this stuff in mind, though, let's talk about the external beta durations, or beta/alpha, whatever, just the external test durations from when it gets into the hand of test players to the actual launch of the expansion. So, the external test for Cataclysm launched on the 30th of June 2010, and the expansion released on the 7th of December. That's a total of 160 days. For Mists of Pandaria, things were slightly tricky. The annual pass really messed up the quality of their test, but it began on the 21st of March 2012, and the expansion came out on the 25th of September, so that's 188 days. Warlords is messy because they released a Friends and Family alpha the players didn't have, but the builds were publicly available and we could data mine stuff, which was odd. I'm pretty sure, though, players first got access around the 4th of June 2014, and then it launched on the 13th of November, so that's 163 days, but of course, the Warlords of Draenor mates are kind of messy. Now, Legion's super odd. It started external alpha on the 23rd of November 2015, and the expansion then launched on the 29th of August. That's 281 days, which is massive. However, they pretty much just rushed out the BlizzCon demo as the alpha, and testing the actual Legion stuff happened 2 weeks after that at the start of December, but then the test was closed from the 21st of December to the 13th of January. So from like that January date to the release date is 230 days, which is definitely on the long side, but there could actually be one other important reason here that's relevant to Battle. So major game releases don't tend to happen over the summer. TBC launched before summer, Wrath launched in November, Kata launched in December, MoP launched in September, Warlords launched in November, and Legion launched at the very end of August. So this does suggest that Blizzard will be keeping it to the latter half of Q3 or perhaps early Q4 of 2018. Now, if the Battle for Azeroth test was to start, say, on the 30th of January, so quite soon, and the expansion was to launch on the Tuesday closest to 180 days later, then it would be about the 31st of July. Now, I doubt we'll see a midsummer release, as that is typically not what is done by AAA publishers, so a Legion-like end of August to me seems quite likely. Now, the Legion pre-patch came out 6 weeks before Legion, which was the 16th of July. Seeing something similar for Battle would make a lot of sense. So we would be seeing a new wave of content about 7 months from now in this timeline, not including the content that comes along with patch 7.3.5, which is the leveling revamp and like about 20 minutes of questing in Silithus, and maybe that Una thing, but we're not sure at the minute. I think that a late August release date is on the optimistic side though, and that a September one is very much on the cards. November, in my view, would be a bit of a disaster in terms of the dates, because that would be quite a large wait, with Antaurus being out at that stage for pretty much a full year, which is closer to the size of the Hellfire Citadel to Legion wait that we had. Now, one benefit the Legion has, though, is it does have things like the Mage Tower to pursue. It's got the new leveling system in 7.3.5. If the allied race stuff comes out before the pre-patch, then that's another solid chunk of content that people could work away at, but again, massive grain of salt with that. So overall, I was honestly a bit surprised that we didn't see a Legion-like beta on the BlizzCon side of the new year, especially since the show floor demo of BFA seemed to have quite a lot more content than the Legion show floor demo at its first BlizzCon. So far, though, we've reached Q3/Q4 of 2018. Battle's probably launched. I would expect maybe one minor patch, similar to the size of 7.1. Now, at this stage, Uldir, which is the first raid, will be out, and the second main raid, which is the Nighthold equivalent, we're probably looking at January 2019. It's hard to know, though, if we'll get a patch that gives us like a dungeon like Karazhan or a mini raid, but I think there will be something there. But what about Classic WoW? Well, I don't think we're going to see anything large in the next BlizzCon with it. Instead, I think they might give us a tease, a status update, and perhaps leave the major announcements to the year after. I also don't think we'll see any new expansion talk next year, and we'll instead have a BlizzCon that is focused on the patch content of Battle for Azeroth. After all, that's what they did with Legion, and that BlizzCon, in my memory anyway, was quite well received. I suppose the big question, though, is are they going to have a big Argus-like mic drop moment to close the show off with? So, I mean, hard to know. Hopefully they will. So that's my thoughts on what we'll see from World of Warcraft in 2018. You know, it's a strange year. I'm going to be busy as hell all year long with the test coverage, but from the player end of things, like, it certainly is a bit of a sparse one. I did a video covering what you can do in the interim with WoW recently, but for the most part, I'd recommend chilling out with WoW, just doing whatever you feel like in the game, and for your gaming time, try some other stuff. You know, recently Warhammer 2 Total War has been great for me, Rainbow Six Siege with my friends has been great, and then on the solo side of things, Horizon Zero Dawn, I've finally been catching up with that, and so far it's great, which is really surprising to me because normally I really hate open world games, which is a bit odd because I play WoW, but you know what I mean, Ubisoft open world games. But anyway, that is, I think, the path to Battle for Azeroth, a broad look at 2018 for World of Warcraft. So I hope you all have a great new year, and there's a lot of interesting stuff going on the channel with this test coming up. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.